We're not restricting socializing. We're not restricting rest.
Mm-hmm.
Those are satisfying things too when we're trying to become healthier. Because guess what? Social connection is a part of being mentally well. And diet culture has taught you to do the opposite. Work out as much as you can, restrict your food, compromise, bring your Tupperware to the thing. That's not healthy. Are you someone who tends to plan for restricting your food and eating super clean and then not feeling satisfied? Well, if you are, welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we are going to discuss how to plan for satisfaction rather than restriction, as we know that this is the way to feel satisfied in whatever your goals are. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind. Welcome, everyone, to another episode. We have Miss Olivia. She's a little sick, so she's going to join us. She's our third co-host. I just saw something on Instagram that women in Arizona are getting their nails done and putting dead scorpions in their nails.
Ew.
I know.
Kind of like the bar with tequila, like a little unnecessary, but okay.
Yeah. So the call I was on was with one of my clients who's a big time person in the Laker bar industry.
The Laker
we
bar?
got on the conference. Huh?
What's a Laker bar?
Liquor?
Oh, Laker.
Bar?
Laker. I was thinking like Lakers. I was like, why are Lakers having bars?
No. So he and I were talking about non-alcoholic drinks, and their Undertow here in Phoenix they've actually made a non-alcoholic rum.
Oh.
That tastes just like rum. I was like, ooh, fancy.
You like rum?
I don't, but like they're Undertow. So they do but he was saying like how most non-alcoholic drinks remove the alcohol, whereas they make drinks that taste like alcohol and it doesn't cost them anything.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we were just chatting about that. He's awesome. So my podcast with Garrett launched. It was funny because when I left the podcast, I was like, we didn't even talk about anything. And then I listened to it and I was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah, it was really good. I thought it was great. I thought it was really interesting to hear like because I know your story from bits and pieces and just like through our friendship, but like to hear it through like a narration essentially was really great. I thought you did a really good job of bringing it back to what the topic was about, like our program and the mindset work and the importance of that and like the behaviors that women have, but the behavior isn't the problem. It's the underlying beliefs and the emotional turmoil that they're not addressing. So I thought you did a really good job, of bringing it back constantly and refocusing and making sure that there was a lot of relatable stuff in there. And you sounded very well experienced. I thought like if I was just somebody, listening passively, I was like, oh, she sounds like she has a lot of experience doing this.
Yeah. Hi, baby.
I know.
I appreciate that because I'm basically just going to regurgitate that story.
That was a good story. I forgot.
It's funny. Well, and because he doesn't do any sort of like, everything is off the cuff.
Oh, really? He didn't have like a structure, huh? So different.
No. Yeah. So that's why we kind of just went in different directions.
Yeah.
So I got some good feedback, which was awesome.
Good.
I'll talk about, so this is a good topic for our listeners. I hated how my face looked. I was like, God, I look so much older.
Really? I didn't. I watched, or I listened to on Spotify and I wasn't watching, so I don't have any feedback there.
I was like, so, I had to get out of my brain for that. We also had our master class, and I think everyone who attended, it's on YouTube for any of you listening. I live streamed it to YouTube because I can do that from here, which is nice. So it's on our channel, Mindset Mirror Connection. So if you guys want to listen to it, it's like I've basically taken the mindset method and made it into like a mini method, but I've changed the labels. So audit is, what am I currently doing? What are the outcomes that I don't want? What are the behaviors that cause those outcomes? And what are my thoughts and feelings about those? Then the analyze is like, how long have I been doing this? What are the patterns that get me here? And then the align is like creating habits that obviously align with where you want to be. Hi, Minnie Michael. She literally looks identical to him. Does that hurt?
We can't tell. I think
what?
Yeah, yeah. I think she kind of looks like him, but he's like, nah.
She's got his cheeks, his eyes, his like chin.
Yeah, his chin for
She's
sure.
his nose. Look at your nose compared to her nose.
Oh,
Your nose goes down.
I know his flips. Oh, his nose does flip actually.
She looks
Oh,
just like him. Sorry
that's
to
so
tell you.
funny.
Yeah. So she has a fever. What is happening?
Yeah, I don't know. She is. I just literally gave her Tylenol when I came back in because I was like, okay. But her nose is all runny and she's just like her eyes are all red. Well, they were red and just cry. So
Yeah, Pepe. I mean, the allergies are a motherfucker right now. I'm
yeah.
definitely feeling a little bit of post-nasal drip, which I hate.
Ugh.
I hate it. So Liberty right now is at the beauty salon for the first time.
Oh, she's
I
getting a glow
know.
up or what?
She's gonna glow up. She sheds, and obviously her hair is white. So I was like, oh, it's time. But when we first got her, she wasn't shedding. So we had to just make sure to keep her hair. We bathe her here and
Uh,
we didn't know what that was gonna look like. So she's at the beauty salon. I'm interested to see how it goes.
that's
Let's see if
good.
she's back yet. Let's see where Marky Mark is at. All right. What else?
Sure.
So I will be staying with my dad this week.
Yep.
And
I
I
have
wanted to
space.
talk about, yeah, so my dad is in a rehab facility. So I'll be staying with him tonight and tomorrow night. So basically through Friday.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to talk about kind of how I prepared for that because I could definitely eat my meals out. I know where to eat and it's fine. I could prep meals if I wanted to, but honestly, got a lot of things to do. So I decided to use a meal prep service that I know I can order at any time and I know when they deliver. So I shouldn't say anytime. I can order pretty easily. And I got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I'll take a little cooler and bring my breakfast, lunch, and dinner with foods that the nice thing about it, it's called Eat Clean Phoenix. If you're in Phoenix, you can get 10% off with Mindset 10, all capitals. And the food, I mean, I have this like drunken chicken. I have this firecracker steak. I have breakfast burritos. I have pancakes.
Yeah.
So I want to just talk about like that preparation, right? So
Yeah.
I'm using ClassPass so I can go to Crunch Fitness right there.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, and mainly because I want to shower. I mean, I could go to my mom's house and shower, but it's just easier if I just go get my workout in, take a
Oh,
shower there. So I have my bag for the gym that has like my towel and my shoes, like my flip-flops and stuff. Have my little bag for food, and then obviously my bag for like nighttime and stuff there. So, it doesn't take a lot of planning. Like I really cut corners to make sure that I'm fed and that I'm eating well and I'm hitting my targets. Everything's already in my Fitness Pal because they provide the macro, so it's super easy. And I'm ready to go. Like I'm not, while I'm changing location, I am adapting to that change in location. And I think that's something that a lot of us can learn from. Like a lot of people will use that as an excuse to just, well, I couldn't. And it's like, no, you can.
you
You
can.
can. And there's a lot of services out there that allow you to do that, whether that is using DoorDash, Instacart, Shipped. When I used to travel a lot, I talk about how I use Target. Shipped does Target. So we get a lot of their yogurts and different things to my hotel and they would bring it to me. And it just makes life a lot easier. And a lot of our clients do that where they will have like a yogurt and maybe some oatmeal packs and some fresh fruit in their room so that they know like, okay, like I might be on this travel, this business trip, but I know at least I'm going to get some fiber in from this fruit and this oatmeal. It's more sustainable carbohydrates. I can get, have 2 things of yogurt and I'm good. So
Mhm.
just wanted to share that with everyone, which, yeah. What do you got going on?
Well, taking care of a sick baby that I have no idea how to do it. I
That
was gonna
sounds like a story you're telling yourself.
I don't know. We're just trying. Well, I was gonna say before we go on to me is for you and like for a client listening is you don't necessarily have to like plan like the meals out in advance, but I think what's going to be kind of a theme with our topic today is that there is at least a plan. So like, for example, say this client was traveling, maybe their father is sick somewhere else and they're staying in a hotel, like looking up the hotel, does the hotel offer breakfast? Are there things that they can grab and put in the mini fridge in the room? Are there restaurants around? Is there a gym around? Like just kind of looking ahead and making sure that you can still stay within your goals. Now, there are times with clients when they are maybe a little bit more challenged in like their emotions and per se, and like they don't have the capacity to do that. And
Mhm.
that's okay too, but we can still make decisions that align with our goals. We don't have to say, screw it, like this is a hard time emotionally. I'm not going to be at home. Other people need me and I just need to show up for them. And that's all I'm worried about. Like, yes, but you have to have the energy to show up. Like, for example, for you, if you were just like not taking care of yourself at this time and then showing up for your dad, like it's going to be harder for you emotionally as well as like communication with the staff, right? Because a lot of your job is an advocate for him because he is blind.
Right.
And if you're all over the place and not taking care of like and being fed and frazzled and trying to maintain your sleep and just a routine, then that's going to be harder as well. And I think a lot of people don't understand that like taking care of yourself and kind of making sure that you're getting maybe just a walk in instead of a gym and
Yeah.
maybe making sure that you're eating and ordering food, that's going to provide you with the energy to like mentally be more sound in this kind of environment. So I did
Right.
want to
And
give
no, I
a
agree with you.
finish.
And showing up in the
Yeah.
way, and so many people think, especially when you're a caretaker, like, no, I need to be there for them. And it's like, no, I need to take this time, bless you, to even step away, right? And
Yeah.
have this moment for myself. And you're right, like making sure, because if I eat, say, something fast food, which again, we support all, like,
Right.
need to
Do it.
eat fast food. And there's things you can choose to be that are a little bit more sustainable in regards to like fullness.
Mhm.
But say that, right there, there's a bunch of different restaurants, but I grab something quick and it's like more processed, then I don't, if he needs me for a couple of hours, I talked about this on the podcast, like I don't know when I'm going to be able to go and leave again and go get
Right.
another thing. So it's like just having that plan. And again, I didn't overhaul my life to make this
Mhm.
plan work. Yes, I have the means to pay the $120 for 3 meals, or I'm sorry, 6 meals and two
Was
snacks.
it 3 meals for 120? You got ripped off.
Six
6
meals
meals. Yeah.
and two snacks because
Uh-huh.
I also got this I think it was like they call it an almond joy overnight oats, and then I got
Oh.
a apple crumble Greek
Ooh.
parfait. They're
Okay.
just good, man. I love their food.
Dang.
I will do no other meal prep with them, and they deliver it to my door
Yeah.
in a bag that's like insulated. So that goes on to our conversation today of like planning for satisfaction, not
Mhm.
restriction. And I think this is so important because when anyone is changing their nutrition profile, and maybe that's to lose weight or maintain weight, there's this idea of their planning is to restrict or hold back or, keep them from doing or eating in a certain way. And that just from a mindset standpoint is like I'm planning to do without.
Mhm.
Planning with this scarcity mindset. Whereas what we like our clients to do is plan for satisfaction. So planning around the things that you enjoy or, things you enjoy like certain foods, things you enjoy like socializing and eating meals out and making sure we're doing that most of the time because that makes the process of overhauling your diet or I shouldn't say overhaul, but making those changes to your nutrition protocol a lot easier to do because you're not taking anything away. You're just planning around the things that you love. So I thought this would be a good conversation for our clients.
No, and I agree because especially this time of year, so what we're in the end of March, this is going to come out March or April, but we're starting to get into kind of like the springtime where there's a lot more outdoor activities, like a lot more parties
Weather
and
is nice,
weather's nicer in a lot of parts of the country and
weddings.
school parties, wedding season, summer season is coming. And I
Mhm.
think so many people think of like, oh no, I got to get myself ready for this kind of upcoming time instead of thinking of like, okay, you're probably already ready, but now we need to make sure that the behaviors that you have rather than thinking about restriction now is planning for that satisfaction.
Yeah. So the upcoming events are, whether it's an upcoming event, a meal out, a birthday, whatever that looks like, this will
Mhm.
definitely help you from, I think when we plan with restriction too, we end up overdoing it
Oh,
when
yeah.
we get to the event. We hear that
Yes.
all the time from clients. Well, I was just so hungry by the time I got there. And it's like, okay, well, if you're working with us, we should have actually avoided that because that's something I say to clients. I'm like, okay, we've planned this day. I want you to look at, like, do you feel like there's going to be an area in here that you're going to start getting really hungry? Because
Mhm.
if there is, we'll just add in an extra something. Like our targets, if someone is tracking food, we have leeway.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to hit this. No, there's leeway around it because I'd rather you be consistent and not overdo it, because then that can create a whole slew of continued behaviors or shaming yourself or whatever that looks like. So, you know, the conversation matters because again, that cycle of all or nothing, like perfect way of eating, poor way of eating, this ultimately avoids that,
Yeah.
and you're saying, oh, I'm going to have, like my client, Nikki, it's her birthday. Happy birthday, Nikki. I believe it's this week. Yeah. She always goes Peter Piper pizza with her son. And
Okay.
I fucking love Peter Piper. Like I have a friend, like that's the only pizza she'll eat.
Really?
I love Barrow's. What's your pizza place?
I don't even know anymore because I
Barrow's.
don't like pizza's kind of one of my like, eh. Like,
Love pizza. So, for her, it's like, let's start with that. What do you
yeah.
want to eat that day? Okay, I'm going to have 2 slices of cheese pizza and then I'm going to have some chocolate cake.
Right.
Great. Now, that's a pretty big chunk of calories.
Yeah.
And what we're not going to do is skip a meal. We're not going to eat nothing, or do some like a drink for
Mhm.
like put protein in our coffee, because you're going to set yourself up for a binge, right? And overeating. And so restriction looks like, again, cutting out certain food groups, right? Cutting out meals for an occasion coming up, and then being super hungry, getting off plan, and then overeating at that occasion. We see this in a variety of different ways, like whether that is for your birthday or even sometimes like, oh, I'm having a rep come in for lunch.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what they're serving.
Yep.
So I just skip breakfast, but then I'm ravenous at lunch, right? So, when you're listening to this, think about what you have coming up, right? And kind of what would a balanced through this conversation, what would a balanced day look like where you are satisfied and you're also getting in the nutrients that you need? I think people do this with exercise too. Do you want to touch on that?
Oh yeah. Well, I did this with exercise and I did it with nutrition too. So like thinking of exercise of like I have to exercise to make up for the meal that I'm about to have or the anticipation of the meal, or I need to exercise more going into it. So that way I have like that deficit of calories
Right.
burned. And
Right.
then that way if I overate my calories, it didn't really, because the exercise that I did beforehand canceled it out.
Canceled it
Well,
out.
the exercise that I do after cancels it out and burns it off.
Yeah, which is
So
not true.
yeah, which is not true, but it's still that same, like you were talking about with the nutrition, it's still that same feeling of like shame and guilt after you made the choice to overindulge or overdo it, as most clients say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's a radical change when my clients plan for these things.
Yeah.
It takes away the stigma
Yes.
of that food being bad, because I'm saying, no, we're gonna put this in and
Right.
you're gonna plan for it.
Right.
And the funny thing that tends to happen is that they have a different relationship with that food when I take the stigma off that food. It's almost like, well, I don't need to rebel now. So do I really want this?
Well, and the other
That's not
conversation is
every food, but
of it too is like, so every time you go out to eat, are you really just only going to have like the salad dry with chicken breast? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, so
it's
at
not
what point?
satisfying.
No, not at all. And so at what point are we going to make at peace with like how to do this in a way that's sustainable long term, instead of
Mhm.
always thinking of like, okay, well, if I am going to go out to eat, like I have to always order the healthiest thing. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
why though? Like one of my favorite
Right.
things to get is short ribs. Like, and short ribs are, I mean, it's meat, so you could say that's healthy, but like they're just a high fat meat. There's not a lot, like they're very calorically dense. But if I
Mhm.
get some good short ribs, I want them. And
Right.
so it's like if every time I go out to eat and, the menu has short ribs and I say no, at some point when I have them, I'm going to overdo it instead of allowing myself throughout the years or the months to have it and
Right.
enjoy it when I do.
Yeah. One thing that happened this week is a client is going out to dinner. So we looked up the menu and she
Uh-huh.
was like, oh, I think I'm just going to get a salad with protein. I was like, well, let's look at the
Ugh.
menu.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, I was like, they have bowls. She's like, oh, I love a bowl. I'm like, well, why don't you have the bowl then? do you love the salad? She goes, well, I do like the chopped Greek salad. I'm like, okay, well, if you love that, then have it.
Right.
But like, would you rather have this ahi tuna bowl? Because I sure the fuck would.
Right.
I'd rather have that, and I can plan around it, right? And it's such a different experience. And again, it creates, when we are like sticking to the salad, it creates this negative emotion towards food, towards your goals. I had a client today tell me, she's like, and this is a client that isn't necessarily in our program. I had gifted working with me for a year to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and she was the client who purchased it. And then she kind of just had these accountability check-ins with me, but she hasn't really been doing anything. And she's like, I'm just, my mind is somewhere else, and I want to kind of just get into maybe like a group routine, like type of classes, because that's seems to be more enjoyable for me right now. She's like, it feels like a chore. And the problem with this particular client is like I said, well, nothing that we do is set in stone. Like, we can figure out a way to get you where you need to be. But I kind of exhausted some of those options. It's more of a mindset struggle than anything else. And so, for her, it's still that there's a lot of negative feelings towards planning.
Yeah.
And she, for this conversation, I want our listeners to be able to get past that, because I still, like we talk about all the time, I can eat anywhere at any time and be fine. I've been doing this for over a decade, figuring out my portions and what I need for my body, but I still plan. I just think it makes me, I plan for my day. I plan for my week. We plan for these podcasts, it just makes me have a bit of a, like, less of analysis paralysis, than if I wasn't to look at the menu and plan ahead. So,
well, and I think for the planning ahead of like is important because you're knowing like the day is coming. And I feel like sometimes when we don't know when the day is coming that we're going to have like a more indulgent meal, it's like, so today's Wednesday, right? It'd be like, oh, I'm going to have this meal today. And it's like, yeah, but you're also going to dinner Friday, like at Steak 44. Like, I always like to use that as an example because it's like a more high-end restaurant, but that's going to have a lot more calories, right? So maybe if you knew that was happening and you're going to plan ahead, then you might make a different choice today that balances out the week. Whereas if today you just like did a quick fix of like whatever you wanted, and then tomorrow's Thursday and you're like, oh, well, I am going to dinner tomorrow and I already kind of blew my calories then, so I might as well. And so that's where it starts that, the all or nothing. So I'm all in on kind of blowing this instead of the nothing, which is like, oh, I'm not going to have anything all day until I get to Steak 44.
Right. Well, what I want people to understand is that what we're not saying is you have to make up. So you have to eat less during the week. It's what we want for our clients is health, both mental, physical, emotional health. And if, because I'm having a more indulgent meal and I want to have that meal, it's my anniversary dinner, I want to enjoy it, I don't want to think about any of this shit. That just requires, so I get my micros and macronutrients in. It does require me to just be a bit more cognizant during the week, right? It's like your kids, like they can have their
cake, but as long as they have their lunch and dinner.
Right. Whatever their dessert is, right? As long as they have the meal that you plan for them. Why? Why do you do that with your kids, right? Because they're growing and they need to be healthy and all those things. But I think there's a stigma with what we're saying, what you just said. Oh, well, you guys are telling people they need to make up. Like no. It's all about balance, right? We're not saying you can't go to Steak 44. We're not saying even on that Wednesday, could you plan for satisfaction in a different way, which I want to touch on. So let's shift the mindset. So instead of asking, like, what do I need to cut out, right? Yep. Like, what will make me feel satisfied and nourished? So this goes into what I was just saying. I personally eat very different than you. And I'm going to talk for everyone else who doesn't eat like you. That you are satisfied with very whole foods.
Yes.
And like pretty like
Plain and
Plain.
dry. Yeah.
Not dry. You eat dry foods too.
I mean, they're
A lot
not.
of avocado.
I do have a ton of avocado.
Yeah. But for Amanda, like she's very satisfied with, a sweet potato, a protein, some avocado, and what? Like a veggie?
Yep.
Yeah. Whereas your girl, I'm like, yes, I could do that. But also, I like to create meals that feel like, I feel indulgent, but I'm still getting my greens in or my colors in. I'm still getting my protein in. I'm still getting fiber in. So, for example, last night, I make a Philly cheesesteak mac and cheese.
Ooh.
So it's 4 ounces of certified Piedmontese. Shout out to the Nebraska farm that we get that from. I don't know the name of the farm, but shout out to them. 4 ounces of the ground beef, 140 grams of bonza pasta prepared, cut up onions and bell peppers. And then I use my good old Laughing Cow as a little bit of that like processed. And I love that Laughing Cow and a little bit of cheese. So that meal is 50 grams, 51 grams of protein.
Yep.
44, almost 45 grams of carbs and 14 and a half grams of fat. 50 grams of protein and it tastes delicious, right? But what people think is they need to constantly be in this like, veggie, plain chicken, rice, like the bodybuilders bring in their little Tupperware. And you don't. You don't have to do that. Like what sounds satisfying? What is satisfying and nourishing? That's a double whammy, which we talk about in the quadrant. What are the foods that you love that also provide you one of the nutrients that you need? Sweet potatoes is a big one for both of us.
Yeah, I love sweet potatoes.
Avocado is a big one for both of us. Berries, I love berries. Salmon, I could eat by itself.
I've had all of this today.
Yeah, ahi tuna could eat by itself. I don't even need some soy sauce. Just give me some ahi tuna. Eggs. I like eggs.
Well, I think what you're getting at though is like enjoying the foods that have satisfaction. And when we can have those consistently
that are satisfying to you.
Yes. And when we have those consistently, it doesn't take away from that restriction point, right? Like, so when we have foods that have like satisfaction, we have them consistently, it allows you to better develop a relationship with the food and knowing that like, okay, this one meal did not make you gain all that waste, right?
When you can like find those foods that are satisfying and nourishing or learn how to prepare foods in a way that are satisfying and nourishing or plan for the foods that you love, you take away, right, that negative mindset of I can't have this or it's so bland, and you just create a new relationship with your food. And it's it's such a game changer when I'm like, oh, I've been doing this all wrong. I've been told from diet culture that I need to like be in this bland, rigid, nasty type of eating. I can't eat meals out. If I eat meals out, I got to completely restrict myself. Like that's so distorted and toxic, And what we're trying to tell you guys is like, look at this from a satisfaction. Again, I'm going to keep rolling with how I eat today. So I won't have my creamy later because I will be at the facility. No. I have apples. So they're apples with honey and cinnamon in Greek yogurt with a little bit of granola. And I know that probably like, you're like, oh, that's so healthy. That shit is good. Good. And I also, for my first snack, have my yogurt with peanut butter mixed, melted chocolate on top, put that shit in the freezer for 10 minutes. That chocolate gets like a hard shell. Oh, it's amazing.
Like an ice cream.
Right? Yes. Like we've got to get out of this mentality that it's got to be boring and bland and like, and sometimes you guys, you're using too many packaged foods that taste like shit solely because they say that they're healthy. Like I have those Magic Spoon bars. They're not that good. No. I bought them. So when I drove to California for the funeral, and I was like, I could have probably made something better than this, but whatever, we're here.
Well, and I think to say too is like thinking of this like on a monthly basis or a weekly basis allows for consistency, but that gives you practice for like the bigger events, the bigger holidays, the bigger celebrations, or the bigger like low points. And so if you can practice this weekly and kind of like better understand it, because okay, chances are somebody eats out every week as one way or another, whether it's going out to dinner with a girlfriend or going out to dinner with your significant other,
Or you got to
or
pick up
going
something
to,
because the kids' soccer
yeah, or going to
practice
lunch
tonight.
for a meeting with your coworkers. Like these are great opportunities to practice each time instead of just going again in that all or nothing. So, and even saying like, okay, so if we do go for pizza, like, okay, maybe I go for pizza, but then I make sure dinner has a high protein, like lots of vegetable options. So I get the fiber in instead of thinking like, I can't have this, it's bad for me. Like even changing it to, okay, so I'm going to have a piece of pizza. You know, is it on my nutrient density like spectrum? It's not the most. So that way for dinner, I'll just make sure to add in an extra frozen vegetable to the pot
Mm-hmm.
and make sure I kind of balance the day out in that sense.
So what you made me think of is like this idea, and I want the listeners to think about it, is if you have pizza that day for that meal, you eat it in a way so that I like to say, like, make that pizza last as long as possible without it getting like cold. You're going to feel satisfied. But that all or nothing mindset says, well, I had the pizza, so then I'm going to eat similarly. Thinking that satisfaction is going to increase over this binge time, whatever time frame it is. When in reality, if you have pizza like foods, the next meal, the next meal, the next meal, you're not going to feel satisfied. You're going to feel gross. You're going to feel bloated. You might have a stomach ache. So you're actually making up a story about, oh, well, this pizza was satisfying. If I keep eating this way, I'll just increase my satisfaction. No, that's not true. That's a lie that you've told yourself. What's actually going to make you feel good is having the pizza, eating it mindfully, exactly like I talked about. And like you're saying, at that next meal, have something that's going to serve your body physically and fixing it in a way that serves you emotionally. That is a thing. I eat this way every freaking day. We make burgers, we make pastas, we make French fries, we make hangover hash, which has chorizo and bacon and all these things in it. You make beautiful breakfast burritos, right?
So, and even thinking about like, you know, you hear a lot of people be like, oh, I just don't feel like so good, like after they've had these indulgent meals or like the pizza. And it's like, it's not necessarily like your fault, but it's the pizza also doesn't make you feel good. You know, it's not like you are bad or like you are actually this way. Like you are actually bloated. You are actually don't have your rings fit on you. You do feel stuff. You do feel lethargic. You do feel like heavier. Like that's not just a you thing. That's your body working with the food you just gave it, the nutrients you just gave it. And so
And you
thinking about,
overdo it.
yeah, and like so think about like when you eat like a really great salad, and I use salads because it's like everybody gravitates towards that as the healthy one, but like sometimes salads aren't healthy, but when you think about like adding vegetables, adding a protein, having a good dressing in there, having some like a cheese that you enjoy in there, and it's just like this whole big bowl of salad, like how do you feel after? You feel pretty great, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after the pizza, you feel this guilt and shame. But it's honestly like sometimes the way, again, like going into the meal, the way you're accepting how you're going to eat the meal of like, I'm just going to do it. And like you're just brushing it off instead of thinking about like, actually, pizza really, like for me, if I eat pizza, like I just don't feel good. Right. So if I force myself to have pizza, I already had that negative connotation that I don't feel good. And then if I think like, oh, I don't feel good after, but I need to make sure I earn those calories, now I'm just adding on like negative bricks to that food. So yeah, and what I mean by that is like say you're making these choices and you're just stacking on foods that aren't in alignment with your goals, you already have a negative connotation of those foods. And
Right.
then if I'm proving to myself over and over and over by making these choices, it's going to take away from the power that you have of using those meals as satisfaction and having them slowly and mindfully. Like Purity Piper Pizza for your client that you brought that up. That's something that she has a symbolic relationship because of
Mm-hmm.
her son, right? As
Mm-hmm.
opposed to like, I don't know, I'll just order pizza.
Right.
That's a different mindset of it.
I love that. You're creating, it's almost like we talked about dopamine, right? That anticipation of that thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas if I have the pizza and then I stack all of these other foods, right? Because now I've been bad and I planned for restriction, but oh no, I had the pizza that I love. And then I do these things afterwards by overindulging. then I'm creating a totally different experience with that pizza. Whereas if I just have it, I have that, ooh, that was great. I enjoyed that. I can't wait to have that pizza again another time. Whereas if I stack all those other foods because in my brain I'm bad or in the all or nothing mindset, it's going to change that narrative. And now every time you look at pizza, you're like, oh, pizza, but I'm going to enjoy it. And then I'm going to binge.
Yes.
Is that making sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So the same with exercise, guys. Like we do speak about how strength training is so important. It's so important for women, especially women who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond for so many reasons. But if you absolutely hate it,
don't do
right?
it.
Don't do it. Like I talked to my client today. I said, I want you to enjoy movement. If you want to go to Pilates, go to Pilates. I have a client who loves Pilates. She does it 2 days a week, but she's also like, I want to also strength train. So we do 2 days a week of strength training. Her body is changing brilliantly. She looks wonderful. She's super consistent. Right. And so with exercise, if you feel like you're white knuckling your way through it, and that's not, let's be honest, like, yes, the first, as you get back into it, it's not going to be a walk in the park. But if you feel like you've been doing this for a while and you're white knuckling your way through it and you're just like, oh, when am I, I got to get this over with. Like, that's not enjoyable. You're taking away, like, even exercise itself, like, allows for like you to produce these like happy feeling endorphins. But if you're constantly just in your head about how shitty it is, you're not even going to feel that high after the workout. Whereas there are people out there who are like, I dread the workout until I start it. And then I'm like, okay, this is great. I feel better. There's a difference between those two. If you're white knuckling your way through a workout or a program, like I used to hate the F45 cardio workouts because they're fucking hard. But I was be like, nope, I've got to do it. I've got to do the cardio where I'm huffing and puffing and sweating my ass off and literally wondering if I'm going to pass out today. And I'm an athlete, right? That's not to say the average human is feeling 10 times worse, but I would force myself to do it. And it eventually burns you out.
Yeah, I think you made a good point
workout program
that I want to kind of trail off on is you had said like there are movement practices that people are like, oh, I don't want to, but once they start, they're like, oh yeah, I kind of do enjoy this. And then they leave in a better mood. I would equate that to this conversation, meaning, okay, yes, we don't want to plan ahead for satisfaction. I just want to enjoy. I want to YOLO, live in the moment. But once you get there by planning ahead, like instead of restricting the food, you're going to get there and be like, man, that was really great. That like, I feel like I can have this food without any boundaries, I can feel it without any guilt. I can sit here mindfully and peacefully and just enjoy this. And now that's not going to come like the first time. Like it does take time, but I promise you, you will get to a point where you're like, oh, okay. So planning ahead, like it's going to give you that positive reinforcement, the same thing that you get when you do the exercise that you're like, I don't really want to go, but I know how I feel afterwards. And it's the same thing. I don't really want to plan, but I know how I'll feel after that meal if I had planned and I have a balanced meal throughout the day.
No, I think what you're saying is so important. And it usually happens around the 2-month mark with our clients. They're like, oh my gosh, yes, it took time to like figure out my plan. But as you start learning how to make those foods and you can save them as my meals in my fitness pal or as recipes, you can reuse them very easily. And we teach you all those strategies and shortcuts to like make the tracking part easier. And you can go out. It's the best it's such a freeing feeling for them. And I love that conversation. So let's get into some strategies you guys can use. So obviously, like we talked about, building meals with variety and balance. The way I like to think about this is building meals that have things on your list of foods that you love that are both nourishing and pleasurable, as well as in your day, adding in one of those love foods or pleasurable foods. So mine, I have 2. I have dark chocolate after my lunch, and then I have my creamy after my dinner. And those are very satisfying to me. So that's just like at home. And then again, just playing with your recipes. There's a lot of like people on Instagram and TikTok that make some cool ass food that a lot of the things I make now are from them. Like I make stir fries and like I said, mac and cheese and all of these things. And it's solely just looking at Instagram and TikTok, but also for our clients, you have access to the macro-friendly foods recipes, and she's got a bunch of shit in there. So
Mhm.
that's the resources tab.
Well, I think what you're telling is you have the right to have these foods. They are not off limits. Like you can, and like I always say, choose to have the food. Don't just be like, oh, I don't know, I was just out. Like choose to eat it. And when you allow
Have some
yourself,
fucking like agency in your
yeah.
like or autonomy, not autonomy, but like accountability in your decision making.
Mhm. Well, and when you allow yourself to do that, it's going to decrease those cravings. So, like, think about when anytime you're like, I'm just going to cut out all sugars, and like the only thing you want is a creamy, or the only thing you want is the ice cream. Instead of allowing yourself, like, okay, if I am going to have ice cream every night, like, what is a different way that I can have it? And like, maybe I only have handles, which I love. Like, maybe that's a special treat for when Michael and I go out because you're going to allow yourself to kind of decide, actually, I don't think I really like it. It's that vision of it that I have in my brain that's hyping, like that dopamine rush, like we talked about with the reward and anti reward. Like the thought of it is so much better. Then when you take a bite of it, if you're doing it slowly and mindfully, you might not actually like it as much as you thought. Like
Right.
one of my favorite examples is my client where she was like, I don't know, I just have like the whole bag of chocolates every night. It wasn't an emotional thing, it wasn't a bored thing, but it was because she just wasn't paying attention. And so I was like, well, have like put out as many as you think you have, but I want you to eat them really slow. And then she was like, man, I got to like two. I didn't even want the third. But
Right.
she didn't, I wasn't the solution was you shouldn't have any chocolates. Don't buy them. It was, let's just slow it down and make sure you're paying attention to the meals that you're having.
Yeah. Let your brain catch up with your belly.
Mm-hmm.
For events, we want to, so a
Oh,
meal out, like choose the
yes.
thing that you want,
Yes.
right? And sometimes, so this is where it gets challenging, especially if you're in a calorie deficit, which we talk about. Are you emotionally, physically, and mentally ready for this? Because there
Mm-hmm.
will be compromise. We're not cutting out all of the foods that you love. There's just going to be some compromise here. But again, you're still going to have, like, if you love something, I'd be like, then eat it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we're going to have that once a week instead of maybe every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, for meals out, choose a handful of things that you want, right? Maybe not a handful, maybe two or three, and then track it. Give it's one thing you guys can do. Take the descriptor of what you want, put it in Chat GBT, and it's like estimate the calories for this. That's a great my client the other day actually sent me a picture of her mussels that she made at home, and then she took the picture, and then she took a second picture of um the leftovers, and I put it in ChatGPT for her, and it calculated it. She had already tried to track it, and it was right within like a couple of calories or
Mm-hmm.
macros. So that's something you can do. So kind of track, like understand what you got going on there first. And we're not skipping meals. What I like to do is put that food in, track it to say that's 1,000 calories. You're just going to have to learn how to create really good structured meals with what you've got left over. Okay, so say I'm in a seven right now. I'm in a 17 or 1,800 calorie deficit, so I have 800 calories to work with. That's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fucking calories if you're
Prepared.
coached in the right way or you have the experience where I can have a beautiful omelet with veggies, a side of berries, maybe some yogurt. I can have a sandwich. I can have 4 ounces of turkey, a thin slice of cheddar, lettuce, tomato, mustard, bread, and maybe some baked chips on the side. Those two right there are probably only gonna be about 600 calories. And then I have a snack where maybe I add in my dark chocolate and a little bit of peanut butter with my yogurt. That's roughly like 260 calories. So I'm at 60 calories over.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could even choose to do something different with that snack. I could do the yogurt with berries and some honey and cinnamon. That might be less, right? And I'm full throughout the day. I'm hitting my macronutrients. I get to go to that meal and enjoy myself. And there's no guilt or shame because I've created balance in my day.
Yeah. And so even thinking of this in the training and movement section for how to have satisfaction, like we talked about, do something you enjoy, right? Just because we are big proponents of strength training doesn't mean we aren't big proponents of other movement that you would enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would say to that is think about how you feel when you're leaving. If you feel doom and gloom, you probably don't enjoy it. But
Yeah.
understanding also too that if you enjoy it, doing more isn't always better too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from my own experience as well of like, okay, just because I enjoyed CrossFit at the time, It doesn't mean doing it every day and sometimes twice a day was really what was helping me in my body. There's that fine line of balance. And so, like, and even I would say that's a restrictive mindset of like restriction from social activities, restriction from like just relaxing, right? I restricted myself in other aspects to make sure I checked the box on doing as much activity as I possibly could. And at that
Right.
point, it doesn't turn satisfying anymore, right? It
Well,
just becomes
it's just
something
like
I
binge eating.
do. Mhm.
Just like you said,
Uh-huh.
when you have the pizza and then you overdo it with the rest of the foods, you create a negative perception of it.
Correct.
When you
Yeah.
have the workout and then you start stacking them to the point of exhaustion or even demand, like
Mhm.
it's controlling you, you create a negative connotation with it.
Right.
It's the same concept, but one's considered healthy and one's not.
Mhm.
What I want to highlight on what you just said is like, we're not restricting socializing. We're not restricting rest.
Mhm.
Those are satisfying things too. We're not restricting times with your family when we're trying to become healthier. Because guess what? Social connection is a part of being mentally well,
Mhm.
right? Rest, stress management is a part of being mentally well. And diet culture has taught you to do the opposite. Work out as much as you can, restrict your food, compromise, bring your Tupperware to the thing. That's not healthy.
Earn
That's
your
not
food,
satisfying
earn your
life. That's not
workout.
satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah, or earn your food, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is good.
Mhm.
Just this idea, you guys, of like, I am planning for like, I want a satisfying life, and the funny part of this is if you do it in the way we're telling you, you will also be satisfied in your body physically because you feel good. But also, if you do this, you're going to be more consistent with whatever your goals are. I have a client right now who's at 1,850 calories. She was in a deficit around like 16, but she couldn't stay consistent with it. And I'm sorry, no, that's not true. She stayed consistent with it, but at the end there, it got a little wonky. So I was like, look, it's time to reverse. Let's get out of it. We're not being consistent. And I was going to reverse her up from 1850, but now she's like super consistent with 1850 and her weight is coming down. And I'm like, do you want to stay here and see kind of, because this is easier for you to do? And then when it doesn't feel as easy, we can go back up.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm like, great. And so what I'm saying is you'll feel good physically because you're eating the foods that your body needs. You're going to see change in your physique, whatever that may be, whether that's gain muscle, lose body fat, because you're being consistent with the intake. And mentally, you're going to feel free, right? You're going to feel free. Changing your nutrition protocols for you is going to have a totally different mindset around it that is so counter to what you've done previously before listening to us or working with us. Anything else?
Nope. Yes, my one thing that I always tell clients is make the choice, like we were talking about. And you said, have the autonomy, make the choice. Don't just go like, oh, I don't know, it just happened. Like, choose to say, if I want the pizza, I'm going to have the pizza. Instead of like, they just ordered it and that was the only thing that was there.
It's
Like, you can
you're
order
a grown ass
DoorDash.
woman.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many options now that there is always a choice, and you can just choose the one that fits within your energy bucket and that fits within your goals.
Yeah. One thing I want to say about that too is like sometimes clients will skip a meal
Mhm.
because they don't want the thing and then they're super hungry when they leave. So maybe they get pizza and wings and you have like a couple wings. You don't have to have a whole portion, or you can, maybe wings isn't one of your love foods and you're like, but I'm going to be hungrier later. You can still have you can also have a choice. I'm like, I'm just going to have a little bit of this just to satisfy me and tie me over until I get to what I want to eat
Mhm.
as well. Because sometimes there is food there that you're just like, I don't even like this, but I also don't want you to get ravenous. So
Yes. Yeah.
there's a choice there too.
Because then you're going to stop somewhere that you shouldn't and order
Right.
a bunch.
Oh, it's funny. My mind still does that where I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
really?
so hungry. I could really use. And I'm like, just go home and fucking eat.
Yeah.
Or get the thing. I love my McDonald's vanilla cones.
Oh, they're good though.
They're great macros too. All right. Perfect. I hope you guys found this helpful. We thank you for your love for our little Livy who is sicky.
Yeah. Thank you for being patient, everybody.
I mean, we are working mamas. Mine just happen to have 4 legs and I can leave them home alone. She is a working mama, a lot like all of you. So I know that you can, you know, feel empathy and respect towards my girl here. So if you are not a baby person, that's how I feel about it. Maybe it's my face that's making her cry. Anyways, thank you guys for following. If you like this episode or you know someone who's way rigid in their diet and their exercise, send them over this podcast. Like, hey, I listened to this. These girls are great. And get us some more followers. Thank you all for the reviews. We still love them. If you like this episode, give us a 5-star rating review. Make sure that you're following us on any place that you listen to your podcast or on YouTube and or all of our social medias. And other than that, myself, Livy, and Amanda want you to remember this.
What you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror. Bye-bye.